ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ॐ। So we were in the seventh Vakya of the Jyotir Brahmanam, which is the third Brahmanam in the fourth chapter, where Yajnavalkya is teaching Janaka that Atma is Swayam Jyotihi, it is self-revealing light, in whose light alone everything becomes evident. So this Atma itself is revealed as a light. The word Jyotis or light is used to indicate something in whose presence all activities are taking place. Okay. So the sunlight, moonlight, light of the fire, all these things were talked about, external lights. So by talking about that, one thing also gets established, that the light which is helping one to conduct one's activities is external to the body mind sense complex. It is separate from the body mind sense complex. But then what about the dream? When all the other lights are gone and even the senses are all resolved, dream takes place. So based on dream and things like imagination and memory and all that, we say that Atma itself is the light which is lighting up the buddhi, correct? Basically, the buddhi only becomes the dream world and the self only lights it up. So that's what is talked about here. And when the self is lighting up the buddhi, what happens is there is a confusion. There is a confusion between what is the light and what it lights up. Okay. Now, this kind of confusion is possible because they both are mixed. You can say mixed in such a manner that it is not easy to separate and understand them. Okay. So the Shruti itself says that by saying Sas Samanaha San Ubhau Lokau Anusancharati, means it becomes Samanaha means Sadrishaha San, like that Bhashyakara says, it becomes similar to, means the Atma Jyoti takes the, or it becomes mixed with the Buddhi. Buddhi is only given here as Hridyantaha. This Jyoti, the Atma Jyotis itself is supposed to be within the Buddhi Guha, correct? Hridyantar Jyotihi. So, since that Buddhi is Sattva Pradhana, it is very Shuddha also, correct? It is pure. It is able to take this light and then appear as though it itself is conscious, correct? The consciousness and the intellect, we are not able to separate it out and know properly. That's where all the problem starts. In fact, the Atma never goes anywhere, correct? Atma is Nishkriyaha, Asangaha also. It is not connected also. But still, Atma is taken as the individual conscious being who is traveling everywhere. So, who goes from one state to the other, correct? That's what the Upanishad says here. Lokav Anusancharati means it is talking about only this first one who is experiencing the waking and dreaming and all that, correct? Different worlds. And then even if this body mind sense complex falls off, it is still going and taking another body and all that, correct? That also is meant here. Lokav Anusancharati means. But in all these things, Atma itself does not do anything. That's why this quotation is very, very important. Dhyayati iva, lelayati iva, correct? So dhyayati iva means it is as though cognizing, as though thinking. Okay, all the mental activities are really activities of the mind alone. But we superimpose the Atma on that and think that I am thinking, I am knowing and all that, correct? I am a knower. So that is all the dhyayati iva, cognition part. What about the actual activities? The activities of the prana and the indriyas, even that also is not really, Atma is not doing anything there. It's all guna guneshu vartante, like Bhagavan says in the Gita. So lelayati iva, that also any activity also is as though activity only. There is no, the Atma does not really do anything. So like this, the Atma alone becomes the one who is the dreamer also, correct? Sahi swapnaha bhutva. Then it by becoming the dreamer, it has transcended the waking state. And by becoming the waker, it has come out of the dream also, but again it can go there. Like this, it keeps on going. Okay. So like this Atma alone is doing all these things. Now, this Bhashya only we have to see here. We did see the Bhashya up to the point, up to this Purushaha. Okay. Because the original question is Katamaha Atmeti. This is what Janaka asks. For that, up to this point is the answer. Yoyam Vijnanamayaha Praneshu Hridyantar Jyotihi Purushaha. Okay, so this Atma is the one who identifies with the intellect also, or who is confused with the intellect, we have to say, correct? Who is similar, who becomes similar to the intellect. The Vijnana Mayat Pratyaya here is Prayaha, is the meaning given by the Bhashyakara. Vijnana Prayaha means it is almost like the intellect, it becomes like the intellect. That's why it is called Vijnana Mayaha. Then Praneshu Hridyantar Jyotihi, again even amongst the Indriyas and all that, and the intellect, it is there within the intellect. Means here the answer is that this Atma is not really this body mind sense complex, it is separate from that. That's what Yajnavalkya has given here. And Purushaha means Puranat Purushaha, means this Atma is a partless whole, correct? And its very nature is this Jyotis. Now, up to this only we saw Yam Tvam Prichasi Katamaha Atmeti. For that the answer has been given, correct? Now, further Bhashyakara is giving the Bhashya for this portion now, correct? Sa samanaha san ubhau lokam anusancharati dhyayati iva lelayati iva sahi swapnaha bhutva imam lokam atikramati mrityoho rupani. Now, mrityoho rupani also Bhashyakara takes it as all the names and forms of the Mrityu. Here is nothing, Mrityu does not have any form of its own, he says. In fact, Mrityu is really all this, whatever the Ajnana and its Karya, only is called Mrityu here. So, that is what is meant here. So, all this part of the Bhashya only now we are going to see here. Let us see. So, Bhahyanam Jyotisham Sarva Karana Anugrahakanam Pratyastamaye Antakarana Dwarene Hridyantar Jyotihi Purushaha Atma Anugrahakaha Karananam iti Uktam. So now Bhashyakara is summarizing whatever we saw till now. What is that? Even when the Pratyastamaya means what? Everything has resolved, or they are all set, or they have been put off, correct? Put out. What are the things which have been put off or put out? Bhahyanam Jyotisham, all the external lights like the sun, moon, fire, etc. And they are the ones normally during the daytime and in waking and all that, they are the ones who are helping all the organs, all the instruments to function and do their activities and all that, correct? So, Sarva Karana Anugrahakana. So, these lights are the ones which are helping. They are the Anugrahaka, or the helpers for all the Karanas. And again, what? Antakarana Dwarena Hirdyantar Jyotihi Purushaha Atma Anugrahaka. So once the Bhashya, these external lights are all gone, still through the mind, Bhashyakara says, Antakarana Dwarena, Hridyantar Jyotihi means what? This Atma alone, which is there within the intellect, which is Purushaha also, which is basically all pervasive Atma, Purushaha Atma, Anugrahakaha Karananam. So it becomes the only helper to all the Karanas. And this was said already, he says. Okay. Now, Yadapi Bahya Karana Anugrahakanam Adityadi Jyotisham Bhavaha Tadapi Adityadi Jyotisham Pararthatvat Karyakarana Sangatasya Achaitanye स्वार्थ अनुपपत्तेः स्वार्थ ज्योतिषः आत्मनः अनुग्रह अभावे अयम कार्यकरण संघातः न व्यवहाराय कल्पते. Okay, this is a big sentence, but let me break it down. Yadapi means what? Even when Bhashya Karana Anugrahakanam Aditya Jyotisam Bhavaha. Even when the, see here it was said Pratyasthamaye, correct? Now Bhashyakara takes the case where sun, moon, etc. are there really. Okay, when the sun is there also, correct? The external lights like sun, etc. are there. Even when they are there, he says the external helpers like sun, etc. when they are there, even then what? Tadapi, even then Adityadi Jyotisham Pararthatva. See, all this sun, etc., they are for the sake of others only, correct? Because they themselves are not Chaitanya. But even if you tell that these sun, etc., are helping your Karyakarana Sanghata, correct, to do the activities, but Karyakarana Sanghata itself is not Chaitanya. That is also Jada. So Bhashyakara says, sun, etc., these lights are for the sake of others, Pararthatvat. But that Para, who is this other? It cannot be Karyakarana Sanghata, Bhashyakara points out. Because Karyakarana Sanghata also is Achaitanya, means what? It is also not Chaitanya, it is Jada. Therefore, it cannot be for the sake of the Karyakarana Sanghata. Swartha Anupapatte. Okay, it cannot be for the sake of these Karyakarana Sanghata. So it can only be for the sake of the Atma, he says. Swartha Jyotisha Atmanaha Anugraha Abhave Ayam Karyakarana Sanghataha na Vyavaharaya Kalpate. So this Karyakarana Sanghata cannot function by itself even when the external light, etc. are there. That's what he is saying. Why? Because they are not independently capable of functioning. They can function only when the Atma is helping them. So if the Atma's Anugraha is not there, Anugraha Abhave, what? They cannot. Vyavaharaya Kalpate means what? Kalpate means they are capable. Na Kalpate means they are not capable of doing the Vyavahara by themselves. Because they do not, they are not like Atma, correct? Atma alone is Swaprakashaha and Swata Siddhaha. But Karyakarana Sanghata is not like that. They can only function in the light of the Atma. So, Atma Jyotihi Anugrahena Evahi Sarvada Sarvaha Samyavaharaha. So, finally, what Bhashyakara explains, that only when the Atma Jyoti is there and in its presence alone, correct? Everything happens. All the Vyavahara can happen only in the presence of this Atma Jyotish, this light of Atma, and everything else is only shining after, correct? So, Tameva Bhantam Anubhati Sarvam, Tasya Bhasa Sarvamidam Vibhati, like this, we also chant it, correct? It is all coming from here only. So, this is important to understand. So, basically, here Bhashyakara is only summarizing whatever has gone before. And now he is also quoting the Aitreya Upanishad here. Yed etad hridayam manascha etad sanjnanam ityadi shrutyantarat. So he is also quoting this Aitreya Upanishad, where the Aitreya Upanishad is saying this Hridaya here is Buddhi, Manaha. All these things also get this name Samjnanam or consciousness. Okay, only because of this Atma. That means their awareness or consciousness means their ability to function, correct, as sentient beings is there only because of this Atma. This Shrutyantara is there. So now further he explains what? Sabhimanaha hi sarva prani samyavaharaha. So any prani vyavahara to happen, there has to be I, correct, the sense of I as an individual, as a karta bhokta. That is what he calls here as sabhimanaha. In English, we can say ego. Ego is a word generally I avoid using, okay, because sometimes it can confuse people also, I think. So basically, Sabhimanaha means what? Taking oneself as Karta Bhokta. That is better to understand like that simply. So you take this Atma, which is really Akarta Abhokta, as Karta Bhokta, then only all the Prani Vyavahara, all the activities of any being are possible. And then, but where does this Abhimana come from? Bhashyakara says, Abhimana Hetumcha Marakata Mani Drishtantena Avochama. So if you go back here, he did talk about the Marakatamani somewhere here. Okay. So if you put the Shiradi Dravye Prakshiptaha Parikshanaya Marakatadi Manihi. So emerald, etc. Any shining jewel, I think. Okay. If you are able to put it into the milk itself will appear as though it is colored by their whatever shine, correct? Although milk doesn't have any color or any shine of its own, like that, since the Atma is mixed up with all this buddhi and mind, etc., really whatever is Atmas, the eye sense, is wrongly placed on these things, correct? Like even the brightness of the Marakatamani is taken as the color of the milk. So that is the Drishtanta is again alluding to here, because already he talked about that before. Okay. So yadyapi evam yetate tathapi jagrad vishaye sarvakarana agocharatvat atmajyotishaha buddhyadi bahya abhyantara karyakarana vyavahara sannipata vyakulatvat na shakyate tadjyotihi atmakyam munjeshikavat Nishkrishya darshayitum ityataha swapne didarshihu prakramate. Okay, this is also a big sentence. Okay, now this being so means what? Really, Atma Jyotis is separate. All this buddhi, manas, and senses and body, they are all separate. That is the reality. Okay, so that's what he is saying. Yadyapi evam etat means what? Even though this is like that in this manner, but still what? Tatapi. Even though they are separate, what happens during the waking? First he takes Jagrat Vishaye. During waking, what? Sarva Karana Agocharatva. This Atma is not, cannot be objectified by any Karana, correct? Whether it is the mind or the sense organs or even the organs of action, none of them, it cannot be objectified, correct? The Kena Upanishad says, Yad Vacha Anabhyuditam Yena Vagabhyudhyate Tadeva Brahmatvam Vidhinedam Ididam Upasate. Similarly, Yen Manasana Manute Yenahur Manomatam Tadeva Brahmatvam Vidhinedam Ididam Upasate. So that which cannot be objectified by the words or even the Vag Indriya, but the Vag Indriya itself is objectified or whatever, it is functioning in the presence of whom? That is this Atma, which is Brahman. Similarly, mind itself, Yen Manasana Manute, mind cannot objectify this Atma, but mind itself is mind in the presence of which Atma? Yenahur Manomatam. Whatever is happening in the mind becomes evident to which Atma? That Atma we are talking. Like that it keeps on going. Yat chakshashana pashyati, yena chakshumshi pashyati, yat shrotrena na shrinoti, yena shrotramidam shrutam, yaf pranena na praniti, yena prana praniyate. Like that. Kena Upanishad is very clear in this. So same thing Bhashyakara says here. This Atma cannot be objectified. Okay. So there are, it is Sarva Karana Agochara. Therefore what? Atma Jyotishaha Buddhyadi Bhashya Abhyantara Karya Karana Vyavahara Sannipata Vyakulatva. So basically Sannipata means mixing up. Okay, and Vyakula means there is a certain confusion due to the mixing up. So this Atma, it cannot be objectified. Therefore, in fact, that's why he's saying there is a certain aviveka can be there. Correct? Even see, even whatever we see pratyakshena, sometimes if two things are mixed up, we are not able to separate it. But in this case, Atma itself is agochara, karana agochara. But further, since this buddhi, etc., are mixed up with this Atma, and they are very close, correct? Buddhyadi Bhashya. Abhyantara means what? Buddhyadi and Buddhya Adi Padat, we have to include everything else, correct? Buddhi, Manas, Indriyas, body, all those things. And Bhashya Abhyantara Karya Karana means what? Antakarana is the mind and Buddhi, etc. Bhashya Karanas are other Karanas, like the sense organs and organs of action. And their Vyavahara, in this the Atma is mixed up. And there is a certain confusion being there. Then because of that what? Na shakyate tad jyotihi atmakyam munje shikavat means it is not possible to differentiate or separate out this Atma whatever is known as Atma, correct? Like even we can easily, if there is a stalk of grass covered by a sheath, we can remove the sheath and understand that the stalk of grass is separate from the sheath, correct? Like that you cannot do here, he is saying. It's a Vitireka Drishtanta. So he says, Munjeshika vat nishkrishya darshayitum na shakyate. Na, you have, na is here, okay? That na should go here. Okay, na shakyate, you cannot show it. Like the grass can be easily separated out from its sheath and shown. But here it is not possible, particularly in waking. Therefore, what? Yajnavalkya goes to the dream. Okay, he takes up the dream. Swapne didarshayuhu prakramate. So he starts the next section by trying to show the separation of Atma and all this body mind sense complex by taking the dream in the dream. Okay, so that's why sa samanaha san ubhau lokau anusancharati. So this is the Vakya, the Upanishad Vakya. Now he is quoting. So the Yajnavalkya is starting like this. Okay, now what is the meaning of this sa samanaha san ubhau lokau anusancharati? Bhashyakara continues. Yaha purushaha swayameva jyotihi atma sa samanaha sadrishaha. So the meaning for samanaha, Bhashyakara is giving sadrishaha means similar to. Okay, saha here is the atma jyotihi only. Purushaha swayameva jyotihi atma. That is the saha. That atma becoming similar to what now? Samanaha san means it becomes similar to kena. To what? Means prakritatvat sanhitatvat cha hridayena. Now what is under discussion? The Vijnana Mayaha and Hridyantar Jyotihi and all that is there, correct? So the Hridyantar Jyotihi is the Prakrita, means what? That is under discussion. And also in reality, this Atma is closest to the Buddhi. Okay, therefore Prakritatvat Sannihitatvat cha Hridayena. So it becomes similar to the intellect. And Hridi means what here? Hridi iti Hridshabda vacha Buddhihi Prakrita Sannihita cha. So this Buddhi alone is meant by this Hrid Shabda, and that Hridam or Buddhi is alone under discussion, and also it is nearest. Tasmat Tayeva Samanyam. So sa Samanaha San means it becomes similar to the Buddhi. That is the meaning Bhashyakara gives. Okay. Further what? Kim Punaha Samanyam. What kind of similarity? Means he says Ashwa Mahishavate Vivekataha Anupalabdihi. Means the similarity is so much that you are not able to differentiate it as two different entities. Like normally if a horse and a buffalo are standing together, you can differentiate them very easily, correct? There the Viveka Jnanam is not a big deal, but it is not like that. Again he is giving a Vitireka Drishtanta. Ashwa Mahishavat Vivekataha Anupalabdihi. Okay, it is not possible to separate out like that much mixing up has happened, okay, or similarity has happened. And now he explains that further. What? Avabhasya buddhihi. So buddhi is the one which is lighted up, okay, and avabhasakam tat atma jyotihi. The one who lights up is the atma, okay. Alokavat, like even the physical light, okay, physical light is lighting up something, like that atma alone is lighting up the buddhi, he says. But what happens really? Avabhasya avabhasakayoho vivekataha anupalabdihi prasiddha. But what happens is people are not able to differentiate the two. It is also like tapta ayaf pindavat and all we say, correct? The red hot iron itself is taken as the source of heat, or that it is burning somebody and all that, correct? But there also the fire is different, iron is different really. But generally it is not easy to separate it out. Okay, like that here also, the Buddhi and Atma, even though the Buddhi is Avabhasya and Atma is Avabhasaka, between them the discrimination, Vivekataha Anupalabdhi is there, and that is Prasiddha, he says. That is generally, it is like that. In fact, even today scientists are not very clear, correct? They either deny the existence of mind itself, or even if they accept mind, they say it is some kind of epiphenomenon or some phenomenon of brain activity and things like that, or bodily activity, correct? So that is how it is understood. So there is no, they are not seeing the difference between the consciousness and this buddhi, which is a kshetra really. Even in the Gita language, buddhi is part of the kshetra, atma is the kshetrajnaha or kshetri. But there is a confusion between the two. So that's what he is talking about here. In fact, this Bhashya is similar to the Adhyasa Bhashya also. Adhyasa Bhashya, which is the introduction to Brahma Sutra Bhashya also. There Bhashyakara starts like this only. Yushmad Asmat Pratyaya Gocharayoho Vishaya Vishayinoho Tamah Prakashavat Viruddha Swabhavayoho Itare Tara Bhava Anupapattau. So even though these two are like opposed to like light and darkness, and one cannot be logically taken to be the other, correct? If you logically think about it, this can never be I can never be this. They both are opposed to each other like light and darkness, but still he goes on. He says uh, there is adhyasa is there, correct? So the vishayi and vishayas, dharmas, okay, are also adhyasta. So those things he is going to talk about here. So they are all mixed up and superimposed on each other. So similarly here he is saying what this anupalabdhi is prasiddha. Therefore what vishuddhatvad alokaha avabhasyena sadrishaha bhavati. So now he is first giving the analogy. Okay. First he is saying this anupalabdhi or the viveka jnanam is not there. That itself is common. That is how naturally everybody is. But why so? He is now answering. He says because vishuddhatvat he yasmat we have to say because what, like even the light alokaha, normal light you take, the light is white light, correct? It is pure light and it is avabhasyena sadrishaha bhavati. But sometimes let us say I want a color light. Okay, this we used to do normally even in our home sometimes. I want a red light, correct? How do I do? But I have only the normal bulb. So we take some plastic paper, some colored plastic paper, and we can put it on top of the bulb, correct? Then it will become that color light. So that means what, there really the light is still white light only. So I was saying that when the light passes through the some colored medium, let us say, then it will take that color. Okay, and it becomes similar to that medium. Similarly, here also what? Avabhasyena sadrishaha bhavati. And further he gives the example. Yata raktam avabhasayan rakta sadrishaha rakta akaraha bhavati. Like if it goes through a red or a crimson medium, then it will take the crimson color. Or he gives yatha haritam neelam lohitam cha avabhasayan alokaha tat samanaha bhavati. So, or even if it goes through green, blue or red, correct? All this, then it will take those colors and become similar to that. Similarly, what? Tatha buddhim avabhasayan buddhidvarena kritsnam kshetram avabhasayati. So basically the Atma lighting up the buddhi, and then what happens? And through that buddhi, it again cognizes all the other things, correct? Everything else, the entire kshetra. In fact, Bhashyakara here uses the word kshetra, means we have to connect what the kshetra is defined in the Gita, correct? So the kshetra is basically everything, the entire objective world, starting from your body, mind, sense complex onwards, it's called kshetra. Okay. So through the buddhi, all other things also in the field are kshetra, everything kritsnam avabhasayati. In fact, the same thing. Also, there is only one consciousness, correct? That is said by Krishna as yata prakashayatyekaha kritsnam lokam imam ravihi kshetram kshetri tata kritsnam prakashayati bharata. So the same thing is said there in the Gita in 13th chapter. Like even one sun lights up this entire world, this consciousness is lighting up the entire kshetra, all the kshetras in fact. There is only one consciousness, but it alone is lighting up all the buddhis, all the whatever sentient bodies, correct? All the Sukshma Sharira and Stula Sharira also. Through the Buddhi. Now, this was explained, he says. This also, again, he goes back to the Marakata Mani only. So, Kshetram Avabhasayati iti Uktam Marakata Mani Nidarshanena, through the analogy of the Marakata Mani, this was said already. No, therefore, what Tena Sarvena Samanaha Buddhi Samanya Dwarena Sarvamayaha iti cha atayeva vakshyati. So, later on in the fourth Brahmana, this Vijnanamayaha, Manomiyaha, like that, so many Mayaha will be used, and finally it will say Sarvamayaha. So this Sarvamayaha means what? This Atma attains similarity with everything. It becomes like that. Why? Because through the Buddhi it goes out, means the consciousness which is manifest in the Buddhi only goes and takes the form of the Manovritti also, correct? And through that it takes the form of all the objects and all that. That way it becomes similar to everything. Through the Buddhi, it goes and takes the form of all the objects it encounters, correct? That way it is Sarvamayaha. Atayeva it will be said. Because of this only, it will be later said that Atma is Sarvamaya, means it becomes similar to everything. So, Tena Asau Kutaschit Pravibhadya Munjeshikavat Swena Jyoti Rupena Darshayitum Na Shakyate iti Sarva Vyaparam Tatra Adhyaropya Namarupagatam Jyotirdharmam cha namarupayoho namarupe cha atmajyotishi sarvaha lokaha momukhyate. So this part is like the Adhyasa Bhashya, like I told you. See, so therefore what? This asau kutaschit pravibhajya munjishikavati swena jyoti rupane darshayitum na shakyate. So due to all these reasons, correct, whatever we saw just now, this Atma is mixed up with the Buddhi, and through the Buddhi only it is now taking the form of everything, and it becomes similar to everything. Now this association is so tight, let us say, that it is not easy to separate it out and know. Like even we can separate out a stalk of grass, or a munja grass has a sheath. We can separate out its sheath and know that grass stalk separately. But here it is not possible. Because it is not possible, what happens? Sarva Vyaparam Tatra Adhyaropya Namarupagatam means whatever activities are there in the body, mind, sense complex and other objects which are all Namarupa only, which are all only names and forms, correct? Whatever activities, Sarva Vyaparam. So the whatever Namarupagatam Sarva Vyaparam means what? All the activities which are there in these names and forms, that is superimposed on the Atma. Tatra adhyaropya means Atmani adhyaropya here. So Tatra here is Atmani, means all the activities of the body, mind, sense complex are superimposed on the Atma. Not only the activities, Jyotir Dharmam cha Nama Rupa Yoho, because whatever is Atma Dharma, that is placed on the Nama Rupa. Means we say the body is conscious, mind is conscious, sense organs are conscious and all that, correct? Body consciousness also is basically because the Tvagindriya is there all over the body, correct? The sense of organ, which is touch, the touch organ is there all over the body. So body itself is taken as conscious. And the mind is taken as consciousness and all that. So that means, and I also is placed on all that, correct? So based on the body, I am saying I am fat, I am tall, I am short, etc. Based on the prana, I am saying I am hungry, I am thirsty. Based on the mind, I am saying I am knowledgeable, I am ignorant, I am stupid, whatever, I am emotional, I am angry, so many things. So like this, the I is placed on all these things, and these things are taken as conscious. That is the Jyotir Dharmam cha Nama Rupa Yoho. On the Nama Rupa, this Atma Jyoti's Dharma are placed, superimposed strongly. And similarly, Nama Rupe cha Atma Jyotishi, the names and forms are superimposed on the Atma. So it is mutual, correct? When I say I am dark, I am fat and all that, this fatness, darkness are all are basically the bodies, qualities which are placed on the Atma. And when you say body is conscious, consciousness is placed on the body, like this, both ways superimposition is happening. Therefore, sarvaha lokaha momuhyate, the entire world is deluded, he says. And in what manner they are deluded? Because of this delusion, they are doing all these things. What? Ayam atma, nayam atma, evam dharma, naivam dharma, karta, akarta, shuddhaha, ashuddhaha, baddhaha, muktaha, sthitaha, gataha, agataha, asti, nasti, ityadi vikalpaihi. So this is atma, this is self, this is not self, and this is of this nature, it is not of this nature, it is karta, means it is doer, it is not the doer, and it is pure, it is impure, it is bound, it is free, it is there in one place, it is moving, or it is going, or it is coming, it is there, it is not there. All these kinds of vikalpas, means different opinions, different cognitions are all there, but none of this really applies to the Atma. Therefore, what? Ataha samanaha san ubhau lokau pratipan, okay, pratipanna, pratipattavyau, okay, iha loka paralokau. Okay, so it is samanaha san means again being sadrisha to the buddhi only. By itself, Atma does not go anywhere. Understand that. But once it becomes similar to this body mind sense complex, means there is a mutual superimposition, then what? Ubhau lokau is there in the original Upanishad Vakya. See here, samanaha san, now ubhau lokau Bhashyakara takes. Ubhau lokau anusancharati, that is the part is now is taking up here. So here, ubhau lokau means which two lokas? Pratipanna, pratipattavyo means what? One loka is already there. You are in this bhuloka, correct? Now after bhuloka, you may get some loka based on your papa and punya, whether it is adho loka or some other bhuvar loka, suvar loka, mahar loka and all that. So there are 7 up, 7 down and all that. So somewhere you have to go. So there is one loka where you are already there, one you are supposed to go, which are iha and paraloka. That's what Bhashyakara says. Then iha loka, paraloka. And what? They are what? This is a very big compound. Okay. Upatta, dehendriyadi, sanghata, sanghata, tyaga, anya, upadana, santana, prabandha, shata sannipataihi. Wow. Okay. Means upata dehendriyadi sanghata is simple. Okay. Means whatever body mind sense complex which I am now having, correct, which I have gained. Upata dehendriyadi sanghata, the body mind sense complex which I have gained now. But then how do I go to the paraloka means, or even how do I go from dream to the waking world? Means in dream you have one body mind sense complex, you have to give that up and then only you can go to the waking. Waking body mind sense complex is different. And even when this, even in waking, if you die, another body mind sense complex you will take. No, for that you have to give up that existing body mind sense complex, correct? That's what he is saying. Sanghata tyaga is there. But once you give up, that is not the end, correct? You take up another immediately. See, even all our this Antima Kriya and all is based on that. This Sukshma Sharira cannot be there without another Sharira. So we say that even if the physical body dies, that Jiva takes a Preta Sharira and then we feed that Preta Sharira. We actually put a stone, okay, we install a stone, that is called that is a Pratishtha like we'll do, and then we invoke that Preta Sharira of the whoever has departed, and then we give food and all that for so many days up to the 11th day. And then we tell, okay, now you go, tata, tata, bye bye. Only literally we say that actually. So like that, so once you give up this body, anya upadana, another body you take. And then it is a series, correct? Santana, it is a series. Means it's not that you take only one another body. When that body is gone, you take another. When that is gone, you have to take another. So Santana Prabandha means what? Again, it is uninterrupted. It is a continuous series. Okay. You take one body, when you give it up, you take another. Then you give it up, you take another. Like that, it keeps on going. Santana prabandha shata sannipatau. Pataihi means what? Like this, hundreds of times. It's a continuous series of whatever, countless. Shata here is only a upalakshana, correct? Basically, you have these things, countless births and deaths are happening, and that is happening in a certain order. Anukramena sancharati means this Atma alone goes from one body to another, to another, to another, he says. Countless times it enters, it travels like this. That's why it is a samsari. Then what? Dhi sadrishyameva eva ubhaya loka sancharana hetuhu. So basically, what is the karana for going from one loka to another? Okay, from whatever loka you have now to the whatever you are supposed to go. What is the karana or hetu for that? Dhi sadrishyameva, this atma and the intellect superimposition, and atma becoming similar to the intellect. That is the reason. Na swataha, but by itself it doesn't do anything really. Like even the light is only white, but it takes the color of whatever it is lighting up. Like that, this Atma is always the same. Nitya, Buddha, Shuddha, Mukta, Swabhavaha. By itself, it has no connection to anything. It is Nirgunaha. But still, Guna Bhoktricha. Like that, the Dhi Sadrishyam is the reason for that. Therefore, what Tatra, Nama Rupa Upadhi Sadrishyam, Bhranti Nimittam Yate, Tadeva Hetu. So, what is the Hetu for this? This Atma becoming the one who travels through all these bodies. The Nama Rupa Upadhi Sadrishyam, he says, means becoming similar to the Nama Rupa Upadhi, and which itself is due to Bhranti only. It is a erroneous take, wrong cognition, but that is the reason. Bhranti Nimittam Yete Tadeva Hetu, that alone is the reason for this. Na Swataha, by itself, Atma doesn't travel anywhere, it doesn't go anywhere. That is now said. Iti etad uchyate. Now Yajnavalkya is saying that how? Yasmat sa samanaha san ubhav lokau anukramena sanchariti tad etat pratyaksham ityetat darshayati. So now that, but what is that? Now he is showing, okay, very clearly what he is showing, because this Atma is taking the similarity of the body mind sense complex, and then only it goes through, correct? Different lokas and all that. Therefore, Atma itself doesn't do anything. That he is showing you now very clearly how yataha dhyayati iva means, because it is as though only it is thinking. Means any activity of the buddhi is superimposed on myself. Therefore, I am not really thinking or anything, but it is superimposed. Means it is as though I am thinking. Dhyayati iva, dhyana vyaparam karoti iva, chintayati iva. ध्यान व्यापारवतीं बुद्धिं सह तत्स्थेन चित् स्वभाव ज्योति रूपेण अवभासयन् तत् तदृशः तत् समानः सन् ध्यायति इव. So now he is explaining that ध्यायति इव, how really dhyana vyaparavatim, the one who has the activity of thinking is only the buddhi, correct? Dhyana vyaparavatim buddhim saha tatsthena. Now that buddhi is lighted up, correct, by the Atma which is there, Hridyantar Jyoti only, correct? Tatstena means this Atma itself is within that buddhi and it is lighting it up. Like even the Marakata Mani is there within the milk and it is lighting up the milk with its own whatever brightness and shine. So Tatstena Chit Swabhava Jyoti Rupena Avabhasayan. So this Chit Swabhava Jyoti Rupa is there. By that it is lighted up, correct? Avabhasayan. Then what? That Tat Sadrishaha, Tat Samanaha San means it now becomes like this Atma only. Because it is now lighted up by that Atma, this Buddhi becoming similar to this Atma. Tat Sadrishaha, Tat Samanaha San Dhyayati. It is as though it is thinking. Like even Alokavadeva, like even the light. The example of the light was given. That light takes the form of the medium which it lights up. Therefore, what ataha bhavati chintayati iti bhrantir lokasya. So therefore, there is this bhranti in the whatever amongst general people in the loka that it thinks, this atma thinks, but in reality, atma doesn't think. It is only all the activities are only the activities of the buddhi. But natu paramarthataha dhyayati, even though the loka has this bhranti or erroneous cognition, in reality, atma doesn't do any thinking. There is no thought or anything in atma. There is no activity in atma. It is nishkriya. Similarly, what? Tatha lelayati iva atyartham chalati iva means it goes somewhere else, correct? it So it goes towards something. Lelayati. Lelayati means literally shaking and all that, or whatever. So teshu eva, or vibrate, we can say. Teshu eva karneshu buddhyadishu vayushu cha chalatsu tat avasakatvat tat sadrisham taditi means even here what the karanas and buddhi etc. or even the vayu, the prana. Here vayu is prana. They are the ones which have this activity, correct? Whatever activity is there, the chalatsu means they are the ones which are moving or vibrating. But atma lighting it up, what happens? It also becomes similar to that. Therefore, tat sadrisham, it becomes similar to that. Taditi, tad atma, tat sadrisham. And therefore, what? Lelayati iva, natu paramarthatha. So here also lelayati iva. In reality, it doesn't have any activity or any vibration or anything. Okay, natu paramarthatah chalana dharmakam tat atma jyotihi. So the atma does not have any chalana dharma. This quality of moving, etc., it doesn't have. Therefore, what? Katham punaha etad avagamyate tat samanatva brantihi eva ubhaya loka sancharanadi hetuhu na swataha. So now how do we know? Okay, so how do we know that this atma becoming similar to all this mind, etc., and because of that, what happens? There is a certain branti that atma itself is doing that. Then only it is doing sancharana into the both the lokas, whatever loka it currently has, and wherever it has to go, the whatever it goes from one loka to another, these two lokas, it is only happening due to this. How do we know? And by in reality, atma really does not go anywhere. So how do we know this? Means to show that only now Yajnavalkya is teaching the hetu, he is saying. So ityasya arthasya pradarsanaya hetuhu upadishyate. So Yajnavalkya is now teaching the hetu or the reason for this, to understand this. So he says saha atma hi yasmat swapnaha bhutva saha yaya dhiya samanaha sadhihi yadyad bhavati tat asau api bhavati iva. So the atma itself becomes swapnaha, he says, correct? If you go back to the Upanishad Vakya, sa swapnaha bhutva is there. In reality, mind alone is spinning and creating the world, swapna world, but atma lighting that up again becomes sadrisha to that, becomes similar to that, and therefore it itself as though becomes the swapna. Okay, swapnaha bhutva. So that Bhashyakara explains as sa yaya dhiya samanaha. So whichever mind conjures up this dream world, it becomes similar to that. Therefore, what sadihi yadyat bhavati tat aso api bhavati. Whatever the mind becomes, atma also becomes that. Okay. Tasmat yada asau swapnaha bhavati swapa vrittim pratipadyate dhihi tada saha api swapna vrittim pratipadyate. So whenever the mind projects this dream world, okay, that is the swapa vritti. It is the state of mind where the dream world is there. Whenever the mind attains that state, then atma also takes that form similar, and therefore we say I dreamt, correct? That I, you superimpose and say I dreamt. Really the dream is it is only a mental state. Okay? It is the activity of the mind. But then you say that I dreamt, means Atma now gains that action or becomes the karta there. Or similarly, yada dhihi jijagarishati means whenever it wakes up. Okay. Tada asau api means now you say I am awake. Atma also attains similarity to the waker. So ataha aha swapnaha bhutva swapna vrittim avabhasayan dhiyaha swapa vrityakaraha bhutva imam lokam जागरितव्य व्यवहार लक्षणम कार्यकरण संघातात्मकम लौकिक शास्त्रीय व्यवहारास्पदम अतिक्रामति. So now, so sa swapnaha bhutva atikramiya and all is there, correct? If you go back to the Upanishad Vakya here, sa swapnaha bhutva imam lokam atikramati means this loka, the waking world, it transcends. Because when you go into swapna, you are identifying with the swapna individual, correct? The swapna individuality is different. So when you go, when you become, when the Atma becomes the swapna rupa, okay, or it takes up the form of the swapna and the subject of the swapna and all that, by becoming similar to the dhi, then imam lokam means what? The jagrat loka. So jagarita vyavahara lakshanam, imam lokam, there is the, it is now referring to the waking world. And this waking world is characterized by what? Karya karana sanghatatmakam means whatever body mind sense complex you have in the waking world. And also that body alone is the laukika shastriya vyavaharaspadam means what? That is the one where to which all this laukika vyavahara and shastriya vyavahara also, whatever the shastra is mandating and all is for that body mind sense complex only, correct? So that is the locus of all that. And that is transcended when you go into swapna. So atikramati, atitya kramati, viviktena, swena atma jyotisha, swapnatmikam, dhi vrittim, avabhasayan, avatistate yasmat, because it transcends the physical body mind sense complex and then takes up this atma now becomes similar to whatever swapna body mind sense complex and becomes whatever identified with the swapna loka itself, which is again nothing but the mind's projection only. Okay, by lighting up the mind's projection, now Atma is now similar to the Swapna, whatever is there in Swapna. Because it is like that, therefore what? Tasmat Swayam Jyoti Swabhavaha Eva Asau. So now, because of that, Bhashyakara now says that this Atma is Swayam Jyotihi. Okay. Vishuddhaha sa kartrik kriya karaka phala shunyaha paramarthataha. So why is he saying? Because this, if the swapna body mind sense complex is really conscious and all that, you cannot give it up and go into a dream consciousness, correct? Or dream individuality you cannot take up. And if dream body mind sense complex is real, you cannot come back to swapna. But both you are going from one to another, correct? You transcend this and go there, you transcend that and come here, means, but I am the one who is common to both, correct? And I am the one who is lighting up both then. So I have to be somebody who is different from both those body mind sense complexes, and I have to be self-revealing and whatever self-luminous Atma, which is lighting up both the states. That's what he is trying to say. So that is the reality. In reality, in fact, he says, Atma is Vishuddhaha, it is pure. In fact, it is never tainted. When we say Atma is pure, it is not like it became dirty and later on somebody purified it. It is always pure. So, Kartri Kriya Karaka Phala Shunyaha, it doesn't have anything to do with Kartritvam or activity, Kriya or different factors of action or even Karma Phala and all that. It is free of all that in reality. But only these sadrisham yevatu ubhaya loka sancharadi samyavahara bhranti hetuhu. But Atma becoming similar means the Chaitanya which manifests in the Buddhi alone, the embodied consciousness is the problem. It goes from one place to another and all that. But in reality, Atma is as it is. It is Nirgunaha, Nishkriyaha, all that. Okay. And then mrityoho rupani, mrityuhu karma avidyadihi. So mrityu here is what? Karma avidyadihi. Karma and its karana is avidya. Okay. And karma phala also is there. So adi padat we have to take all that. Na tasya anyad rupam swataha. Mrityu does not have any rupa of its own, he says. Okay. Karya karnani eva asya rupani. So the rupa of this mrityu is what? All this karya karna sanghata only. This mrityu is death, he says. Including whatever the avidya, which makes you think that you are this karta bhokta, having this body mind sense complex. Ataha tani mrityoho rupani atikramati. Means this atma in reality transcends all this kriya phala ashraya. Means this kriya, the karma and its phala, it has got nothing to do with really atma. Atma transcends all this mrityoho rupani, also it atikramati. So that is the reality of atma. So with this we have covered the Bhashya, which is explaining this Upanishad Vakya. Now the Buddhist comes actually. Nanu, this we'll see next week. Okay. So next week we'll see how the different Buddhists do not accept Vedanta, and then how Bhashyakara answers them. In fact, quite a bit of Bhashya is still there. So we'll see all that next week and further also. Okay. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದ ಗುರುಜಿ.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದ ಗುರುಜಿ. ಧನ್ಯವಾದ.